Playoffs? Don't talk about it. Playoffs? You kidding me?
There is nothing larger in all of American sports than the NFL postseason. It's a grand stage where legends are born.
One of sports history's biggest upset.
And the Patriots are Super Bowl champions!
Teams and players have etched their names in the annals of sports by delivering unforgettable moments year after year. From thrilling upsets to sheer dominance, the playoffs provide magic for fans across the globe. Like the sport itself, the postseason came from humble beginnings, yet transformed into a modern-day spectacle.
Finally!
This is NFL Explained: Evolution of the Playoffs. When the APFA was first formed in 1920, the rules for crowning a champion were pretty cut and dry. Best record wins the title. The undefeated Akron Pros were the inaugural champion, and by 1922, the league rebranded to the NFL. That championship format would remain intact for another 10 seasons. But in 1932, the league ran into a dilemma.
Behind Nagurski, the Bears shut out the Packers to finish the 1932 regular season, tied with the Portsmouth Spartans for the league's best record.
The best two teams, the Chicago Bears and the Portsmouth Spartans, later known as the Detroit Lions, were tied at the top of the standings. So instead of declaring co-champs, a winner-take-all game was held for the right to be called Kings of the NFL. It marked the first ever postseason game.
So it was agreed upon by the league, and both teams were scheduled to play the championship game in Wrigley Field.
This was nowhere close to your average football game. Due to inclement weather, Bears owner and head coach George Halas had the idea to play the game at Chicago Stadium. Another first, it effectively marked the first ever indoor NFL game.
The field was not your ideal field. Remember the odor, because there had been a circus in the Chicago Stadium the previous week.
The field was only 80 yards long, including end zones, and far narrower than regulation size. With an attendance of just over 11,000, Chicago won the game 9-0, but not without controversy. Bears standout Bronco Nagurski completed a pass for a touchdown, yet the rules stated that one had to be 5 or more yards behind the line of scrimmage to do so. Portsmouth argued the ruling, but the play stood nonetheless.
Bronk threw the touchdown pass to me. I was laying on my back in the end zone, and Bronk threw me an end-over-end pass. That was his best pass.
The next year, the rule was changed, and players could throw the ball from anywhere behind the line. Think about this game for a minute and how it foreshadowed the modern NFL. First time a champion was crowned in a winner-take-all setting. Nowadays, the Super Bowl is the be-all, end-all for all 32 franchises. First game to be played indoors. Weatherproof football has become inevitable these days, with lavish new stadiums built to host all kinds of events. And the most controversial moment led to a rule change featuring a more wide-open passing game. We don't need to tell you how important the quarterback has become today.
He throws it for 6 with his left hand.
Chase to the sideline, fires into the end zone, and it is caught.
Here comes Hubbard. Oh, he threw him away like a rag doll. And he throws in the end zone. Caught for a touchdown.
The game was a success, and NFL ownership promptly decided it would be an annual occurrence. The league was split into the Eastern and Western divisions, with the regular season champs of each side facing off in the title game. This format ran for the next 9 years with no real issues, and a couple of memorable championship games along the way. The 1934 championship is known as the Sneakers Game, as Steve Owen and the New York Giants came out in the second half wearing basketball shoes to gain better traction on the rock-hard terrain in Chicago.
And it was a frozen field. The cleats would not hold a call.
In the end, the soft-shoe sneakers were the ones that could grab the field.
They won 30-13, but you'll need to travel north to Green Bay to find the league's first true dynasty. Led by legendary head coach Curly Lambeau, the Packers won 5 NFL titles from 1929 to 1939, setting the foundation for Titletown. In 1940, the Chicago Bears and Washington Redskins played the most lopsided game in NFL history. Washington won the regular season matchup, and owner George Preston Marshall called Chicago crybabies and quitters in the newspaper.
On the train down to Washington, the boys usually played bridge or joked around. Every single player had his playbook out. Every single player had his heart set on playing this game. It was like going to war, really. It's a war within a war.
Chicago didn't take that lightly. The Bears debuted the revolutionary T formation on offense and won 73-0. Fast forward one season, and guess what? Another tie in the standings. This time, the 10-1 Bears and Packers were deadlocked for first place in the Western Division, so the two would duke it out in a makeshift semifinal. Winner goes on to the championship game. Chicago was victorious, then beat the Giants to capture another NFL crown.
For the second straight year, the Bears were world champions and beginning to look like a dynasty.
With Hall of Fame quarterback Sid Luckman at the helm, the Bears became the dynasty of the 1940s. 4 championships in a 7-year span. These games were covered in the papers, on radio, and come 1948, fans would be able to watch from the comfort of their own home. The Philadelphia Eagles faced the Chicago Cardinals in the first ever televised championship game, and an absolute blizzard. Members from both teams had to help get the tarp off the field due to the amount of snow.
Off comes the huge tarpaulin. Even the players lend a hand.
Philly won 7-0 with Hall of Famer Steve Van Buren scoring the lone touchdown.
With the championship riding on his shoulders, Steve Van Buren blasts off right tackle for the game-winning touchdown. And the Philadelphia Eagles become the 1948 world champions by a score of 7-0.
1950 marked a major milestone for the NFL, merging with the All-American Football Conference. The Colts, 49ers, and Browns were now in the fold. Cleveland won the AAFC championship all 4 seasons prior to the merger and put the NFL on notice immediately. While the official playoff format remained intact, Cleveland won the 1950 championship in a bracket that included 2 divisional tiebreaker games, the first ever 4-team tournament. Cleveland was the expanded league's first true dynasty. They went to 10 straight championships from 1946 to 1955, winning 7 of them. Quarterback Otto Graham was the ultimate winner, while Paul Brown brought about coaching innovations still being utilized today.
Because he's the greatest coach in the history of professional football. Clear and simple.
No championship game had a larger domino effect on the future of the league than 1958, the greatest game ever played. Hosted on the Polo Grounds of New York, the Colts and Giants clashed in the first game to ever enter sudden death overtime.
Unitas will be throwing on every play, and the Giants know it. But Johnny's deadly accuracy pays off. Berry makes the catch and claws his way to midfield with a minute left to play.
Quarterback Johnny Unitas flashed the evolution of the quarterback position, leading a 2-minute drill at the end of the 4th quarter to get the Colts in field goal range to tie the game.
The Colts don't even huddle. Steve Myra rushes onto the field. The ball is snapped. Myra kicks. It's good!
In OT, Alan Amici scored the game winner for Baltimore, and the estimated 45 million viewers across America fell in love with pro football.
Alan Amici dives through a huge hole, and the game is over. The Baltimore Colts win a historic overtime victory, beating the Eastern Conference champion New York Giants 23-17 in a truly magnificent come-from-behind effort.
Overall, 17 Hall of Famers were involved in the matchup that marked the birth of football as America's game.
The idea was to win most of the battles and get the great players, because that's what it was. It was an all-out war.
1960, the arrival of the American Football League. The NFL was now at war with a growing competitor, battling for players, TV rights, and sometimes even cities.
We've been in litigation for over 3.5 years with the American Football League, and there hasn't been much opportunity to think of anything beyond our own league. Well, our main concern right now in the NFL is making it as strong as possible.
By 1966, the rival leagues came to a merger agreement, with the champions of each facing off to decide the best team in pro football. This effectively expanded the playoff field from 2 to 4 teams. Kansas City handled their business, and Green Bay needed a late goal line stand before the stage was set. Chiefs and Packers at the LA Coliseum in the AFL-NFL World Championship game. But AFL founder Lamar Hunt coined a catchier name for the showdown.
In one of these meetings, the discussion came up and someone said, well, what do you mean the championship game? And I said, well, you know, the final game, the last game, the Super Bowl. My wife had given 3 small balls to my 3 children, hence the name Super Bowl.
While the media and most of the general public caught on to the moniker, the league didn't make it official until Super Bowl III in 1969. To build hype around the game, Commissioner Pete Rozelle had the idea to give teams an extra bye week. Not only did it give the Packers and Chiefs more time to prepare, but more time for the league to promote the new event to households across America. In the game itself, Vince Lombardi's Packers and the NFL displayed its dominance.
The Packers struck savagely and often at the Chiefs' weak spots and won easily 35-10. They demonstrated to their own satisfaction and to the AFL that they were indeed the finest football team in the world.
In 1967, the NFL added its 16th franchise, the New Orleans Saints, and with that came a round of realignment that did away with the Eastern and Western conferences. There would now be 4 divisions: Capital, Century, Coastal, and Central. Yeah, we don't get those names either. The change sparked a brand new 4-team NFL playoff format. The league added 2 divisional round games to decide the contestants in the championship. Along with the AFL bracket, there were now 6 teams making the dance. The Cowboys and Packers handled their business in the inaugural divisional games and faced off in the NFL championship. Welcome to the Ice Bowl.
It's cold!
The feeling of the air, it was like being in a meat locker. You know, you can only get so cold. And that was as cold as I'd ever been in my life, and I think anybody ever been. If you looked in the stands, all you saw was that steam coming out of people's mouths.
17-14, Cowboys out in front. Packers trying for the go-ahead score. Starr begins the count. Takes the snap. He's got the quarterback sneaking. He's in for the touchdown, and the Packers are out in front. 20-17. There's 13 seconds showing on the clock, and the Green Bay Packers are going to be world champions, NFL champions for the 3rd straight year.
Green Bay's 3rd straight NFL title led them to Miami for Super Bowl II. The game was never in doubt, and the league would once again flex on the upstart AFL. It was the Pac's 5th and final championship of the decade, effectively making Green Bay the team of the 1960s. The following season, the Raiders and Chiefs played in a tiebreaker to go to the AFL championship game against the New York Jets, totaling 7 playoff teams combined between the 2 leagues. But it was the final game of that postseason that shook the landscape of pro football.
I think we got a heck of a shot of winning. We beat anybody in the world, and I think we're going to win next Sunday.
As 17-point underdogs, the AFL's New York Jets upset the Baltimore Colts, turning the sport on its axis.
I got goosebumps when you mentioned that just now. It still feels good.
Once considered second class, the AFL had now proven to be on par with Big Brother, with the 1970 merger looming.
We may be sitting in one of sports' greatest upsets in history. He's in there, still scoring. The game is over. The New York Jets are the world champions. They have upset the Baltimore Colts and beat them handily here today.
It was a victory not only for the players, the coaches, the team, but the fans of the AFL. That's why when I went off that field and did that, I saw those fans up there. We're number 1, yeah, we did it, the AFL.
The AFL doubled down in 1969 with the Kansas City Chiefs knocking off Minnesota in Super Bowl IV. Once again, the heavily favored NFL powerhouse was toppled by Hank Stram's Chiefs in another monumental result for the sport.
Just keep matriculating the ball down the field, boys.
Let's hop to 1970, the merger now in full effect. The Colts, Browns, and Steelers leave for the American Football Conference, joining the 10 AFL teams. The 13 remaining NFL franchises made up the National Football Conference, 3 divisions on each side: Eastern, Western, and Central.
What the hell's going on out here?
8 total teams make the playoffs, the 3 division winners from each conference, and 1 wild card reserved for the team with the best record without winning their division. However, determining who got home field was quite complicated. Instead of giving it to the team with the best record, the league opted instead for a seeding rotation between division winners, meaning if one team had a better record, they could still be on the road in these playoff games.
What?
And of course, this caused issues. 1971 saw the Dolphins and Chiefs play each other in the first round, despite having the 2 best records in the AFC. all while the Browns, who won the Central Division at 9-5, got a home game against the wild card Colts. It wasn't the worst thing, though. Miami and Kansas City would duel in one of the greatest games in playoff history, a double overtime thriller where the Dolphins outlasted the Chiefs 27-24. It remains the longest game ever played.
We played Kansas City in the playoffs one year. It went on and on and on.
The pressure will be on. Kick is in the air, and it is good! The Dolphins are in the AFC Championship game. One of the greatest football games ever witnessed in the history of professional football.
I was a happy camper at the end of that game. I was happy that we won, certainly, but I'll be honest with you, I was almost just as happy that damn game was over.
The Dolphins couldn't catch a break the following year either. After completing a perfect 14-0 regular season, Miami had to travel to Pittsburgh for the AFC Championship, coming off a miracle of their own the round before.
Back goes Bradshaw. He's looking. He's in trouble back there. He rolls out to the right. He looks. He throws deep, and it is not in the way. It's right into the hands of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Michael has. He's in the 25, the 20, the 15, the 10, the 5, the touchdown for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Franco Harris's immaculate reception powered Pittsburgh to its first ever playoff win. The Steelers were due, and the moment was a precursor of things to come that decade, but it didn't have an effect on the 1972 campaign. Miami won 21-17 at Three Rivers Stadium, then handled the Redskins in Super Bowl VII.
The Dolphins have won Super Bowl VII, have completed the greatest season in NFL history.
The 72 Dolphins remained the lone perfect team in NFL history, winning all their regular season games and the Super Bowl. When it comes to overall team excellence, they remain the blueprint. Finally, in 1975, seeding was reevaluated and the best teams by record would host playoff games. This brought about a more balanced bracket, where often the two top teams in each conference would meet to decide the championship. By this time, however, the NFL's next dynasty was already taking shape in Western Pennsylvania.
There are 27 teams in pro football. And then there are the Pittsburgh Steelers.
While the Dolphins dominated the start of the decade, the Pittsburgh Steelers took control the rest of the way. After winning their first Super Bowl in 1974, the Steel Curtain went head-to-head with the Cowboys in Super Bowl X. Dallas would be the first wild card team to make the big game.
It's all on display right here.
Well, the Cowboys need a miracle. Roger, he's going long. Down the near sideline for Drew Pearson. Pearson makes the catch at the 5. Touchdown! Would you believe it? Staubach hit Pearson on a 50-yard touchdown.
While Pittsburgh was the team of the 70s, they still weren't America's team. Led by the great Tom Landry, the Cowboys were in the midst of an unprecedented postseason run. Starting in 1966, Dallas made the playoffs 17 out of 18 years, with 5 Super Bowl appearances thrown in there.
What do you think, Coach? I think it's pretty nice. Pretty good. Congratulations. Really happy.
Their 2 separate postseason streaks of 8 and 9 games are among the 10 longest in pro football history. A surprise to nobody, Brady and Belichick are at the top again with 11 straight playoff trips. KC's been right on their heels with a decade-long run of their own. Back to the Cowboys and Steelers, though. Pittsburgh landed the first punch in their decade-long rivalry, winning Super Bowl X thanks to some unbelievable catches from Lynn Swann.
That's go back. The blitz is on to Dallas. The Steelers pick it up. Lynn Swann out there. Caught it! What a catch by Lynn Swann. He's made 2 incredible catches. We're not at halftime yet.
In 1978, they faced off again in what would become the first Super Bowl rematch in history, but before doing so, they, along with the other division winners, would get a week off. Why, you ask? The postseason expanded to 10 teams for the first time. A wild card game was put into place. The 2 best teams by record, who failed to win their division, would face off for the right to play in the divisional round.
The Eagles soared to a 13-0 advantage, and with less than 8 minutes remaining, the cause appeared lost. And then with less than 2 minutes remaining, made their final bid for victory.
Eagles blitzing. They pick it up. He throws long. Jackson's there. Touchdown! Francis! It's Wallace Francis! Wallace Francis has caught the touchdown pass. This crowd is dancing in the seats.
The first ever wild card game lived up to its name, too. The Falcons staged a crazy 14-point comeback in the final moments of the game, moving on to Dallas a week later.
Oakland offense. Good protection. Throwing for King. Could go all the way. 40, 30. Touchdown, Oakland.
Jump to 1980, where the mighty Oakland Raiders became the first wild card team in history to hoist the Lombardi Trophy. To this day, only 7 wild card teams have accomplished that feat, with the 2020 Buccaneers doing it most recently. While there were no changes to the playoff format in the 1980s, it was a hotbed for some of the most dominant teams, players, and performances we've ever seen in January.
How is this one going to end? Montana lines up at the 5. And on 3rd down and 3, he rolls right, looking to throw, and he throws into the end zone. Touchdown! Touchdown! Touchdown, San Francisco by Dwight Clark.
While America's team still found success in the early 80s, the 49ers took control of the NFC and the league in this decade. Bill Walsh's West Coast offense, led masterfully by Joe Montana, helped San Francisco capture 4 Super Bowls from 1981 to 1989. Joe Cool became the face of the league and regarded by many as the greatest quarterback to ever play the game.
Back to throw Montana. Stepped up, throws. Touchdown, 49ers! Taylor has it for the touchdown! A 10-yard pass! The 49ers have scored with 34 seconds remaining.
The most impressive stat of his playoff dominance, Montana never threw an interception in a Super Bowl, cementing himself as an icon in America's largest sporting event. In that fateful 1981 postseason, we also got a pair of legendary games in back-to-back weeks, both involving the San Diego Chargers.
He's straight back to throw, gets a rush, steps up, throws it downfield. It is complete. The lateral back at the 20, the 10, the 5, into the end zone, touchdown.
Oh, they did it with a gadget.
A frenzied back-and-forth affair saw the Dolphins and Chargers battle through heat, exhaustion, and overtime in a game now known as the Epic in Miami. San Diego's reward? The Freezer Bowl in Cincinnati.
The temperature in greater Cincinnati has dropped to 9 below. We're talking a wind-chilled 59 degrees below zero. And frankly, folks, you gotta be crazy, nuts, to be out there today.
The eeriest thing about, because it was so cold, the game was played in silence. Everyone was wearing very thick gloves, and everyone had some protection over their face. So even though we were screaming and yelling and cheering, you couldn't hear it.
The second coldest game in NFL history saw the Bengals advance to their first Super Bowl.
All NFL training facilities will be struck. We are prepared to withhold our services however long it takes.
They could take my car back and they could take my apartment. I really don't care. I'm sitting out for what I want. And right now, this agreement is not what I want.
We've lost half the season now with the cancellation of next week's games. We're very close to losing the 1982 season.
The league was met with a player strike in 1982, shortening the season to just 9 games. With fan engagement dwindling, the league would make an unprecedented move for one season only. Ladies and gentlemen, we present to you the Super Bowl tournament. The 10-team format expanded to 16 teams, 8 in each conference. That's right, over half the league made the postseason, and it remains the largest bracket in NFL history. The conferences wouldn't factor in divisional seedings either. Instead, the best 8 from each side would be in the dance. We'll call it January Madness, and because of the expanded format, 2 teams with sub-500 records made it in, marking the first time that ever happened. Both the 4-5 Lions and Browns made it in, becoming some of the worst regular season teams to do so. But they wouldn't be the last to sneak into January with a losing record. Fast forward nearly 30 years, where the 2010 Seahawks won the NFC West at 7-9. They proved to be a handful for the defending champion Saints. Just ask Tracy Porter.
Crowd silent now, as opposed to when the Saints have the ball. Oh, look at this run! What a run! Marshawn Lynch still on his feet. Has blockers now. He's dancing his way
for the touchdown!
In 2014, Carolina went 7-8-1 and also won their wild card matchup. Most recently, the 2022 Bucs won the NFC South at 8-9, but the Cowboys shut the door on a postseason run in Tom Brady's career. But back to 1982. The Dolphins and Redskins were the last two teams standing in the strike-influenced playoff gauntlet. Super Bowl 17 was the first to be broadcast overseas, seen live in Great Britain. As for the game itself, the Dolphins' killer bees weren't good enough to slow down the diesel.
There's the snap, hand to Riggins, good hold, he's got the first down to the 40, he's gone, the 35, the 30, the 20, he's gone, touchdown, Washington Redskins!
John Riggins was on a tear in that tournament. In 4 games, he racked up 136 carries, 610 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 Super Bowl MVP trophy.
This is for John Riggins, who does a bow at the 43-yard line.
Speaking of great runners,
Dickerson picks up where he left off. It's the bye-bye Blues. It's over.
in 1985, Eric Dickerson set the all-time single-game playoff record with 248 rushing yards. Let's take a look at some of the most spectacular performances in playoff history. You have your Hall of Famers, sure, but let's shout out some forgotten greats. Eric Moulds, Ricky Waters, and Vernon Perry, we see you. Can't talk about the 80s without covering the Bears. Chicago's squad in 1985 is up there with the greatest units of all time, best known for their ferocious defense. 15-1 in the regular season, and no team had a shot against them in the playoffs, including Dickerson's Rams.
Dickerson, the tail, backhand off. Dickerson, he's hit by Singletary. Backed up at the line of scrimmage. Mike Singletary, he read it beautifully. Brock back to pass, the rush out to and hammered down. He got the ball. Picked up by Wilbur Marshall. Marshall running across the line. Go. 30, down the 20. He'll go all the way. 15. All right. 5, touchdown. Way to go. Wilbur Marshall has scored for the Chicago Bears.
Chicago outscored their opponents 91-10 in 3 playoff games en route to a win in Super Bowl 20.
I'll tell you what, this defense has been incredible. Total decimation to the AFC champion New England Patriots.
Just a year later, some guy named Elway led perhaps the greatest drive in NFL history.
Let's see what happens here as this one ticks down to its final moments.
Snap to Elway. The look, the throw, touchdowns. 98.5-yard drive. The Denver Broncos have come from behind to win it in overtime. The Broncos are going to the Super Bowl because they earned the trip.
But the Broncos couldn't replicate the magic, falling to the G-Men in Super Bowl 21. Denver was back again in 1987, though it was Washington who got the last laugh, thanks to a virtuoso performance from Doug Williams, the first black quarterback to start and win a Super Bowl.
Most valuable player of Super Bowl 22 is quarterback Doug Williams of the Washington Redskins.
The next permanent shift to the playoff bracket came in 1990, where the postseason expanded from 10 to 12 teams. The division winners were still locked in, but there would now be 3 wild cards from each conference, up from 2 in years past. The division winner with the worst record would now have to play in the first round. The new format immediately sparked fireworks. 1990 was set to be the coronation of the 49ers as the greatest dynasty in the history of the sport. Joe Montana won league MVP, Jerry Rice was in his prime, and the 14-2 49ers were on their way to become the first team to three-peat in the Super Bowl era.
Here's Montana, long time in the pocket. Got chased out, finally hit from behind. The ball's loose, and turnover maybe. Boy.
In the NFC Championship, they faced off against the New York Giants led by backup quarterback Jeff Hostetler. Defensive coordinator Bill Belichick needed to have a perfect game plan to slow down the team of the decade.
Ring again, hit behind the line of scrimmage, and the Giants have the ball. Lawrence Taylor out of the pack with the ball. And the kick is good. There will be no three-peat.
In the Super Bowl, New York was 7-point underdogs to the Bills, whose K-Gun offense tore through the AFC. Once again, Lawrence Taylor and company kept the G-Men in the game, but Buffalo had a drive going late, setting up one of the most infamous plays in NFL history.
No good. Wide right.
Wide right remains the two worst words you can say in the city of Buffalo, but the Bills would be back to the Super Bowl the next year.
And that should do it. There's nothing the Bills can do. The World Championship has been secured for the Washington Redskins.
And again the next.
And Dallas, your Cowboys are the champions.
And the next.
And so another season and another Super Bowl opportunity and another Super Bowl loss.
Buffalo remains the only team to appear in 4 straight Super Bowls and the only team to lose 4 in a row. While the postseason is where teams ascend into legendary status, it seems a select few franchises are cursed when their schedule hits January.
Draw to Biner. Ernest Biner. Fumble the ball, and Denver has recovered. Oh, my.
Can't talk about playoff curses without mentioning the poor Cleveland Browns. Victims of the drive and the fumble in back-to-back years, they are one of 2 franchises that have been active since Super Bowl I to never reach the big game. The other, look no further than the Detroit Lions.
Goff, some pressure again, lets it fly high. It's intercepted, picked off by Quan Morton. Morton with some blocks, inside the 20, still going, Morton, pick 6!
From 1958 to 2022, the franchise had just a single playoff win.
A very disappointing ending. They are going to lose again.
Their division rival in Minnesota has its fair share of playoff nightmares too.
You think Gary Anderson will make this field goal? The answer should probably be yes.
39 yards away, and it's not good.
Favre sprints to his right, throws back across the middle, and he's intercepted. This will be a 27-yard try. McDermott is the snapper, and the kick is no good. Are you kidding me? The season can't end like that.
The last dishonorable mention goes to the Chargers, who had their opportunities to raise the Lombardi, but have found a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory.
And now it's all up to him.
Here's your ball game. And he's going to miss it wide to the right.
Brady throws in. He's intercepted for the 3rd time. And the ball comes out. Troy Brown reached in there and knocked the ball loose. Can you believe it? New England recovers.
Fires through the right corner of the end zone, and that ball is caught for the touchdown.
My goodness, what has happened in Duval County?
Been equal parts comeback and equal parts collapse.
This is going to be a long flight home, a long off season, and absolutely inexplicable.
Back to the Bills' misfortune as their big game blunders propelled the Cowboys back into the national spotlight. 3 Super Bowl wins in 4 years cemented Dallas as the dynasty of the 90s. Jerry Jones' team was setting records along the way. More than 94 million tuned into the main telecast of Super Bowl 30, a mark that stood for over a decade.
We did it our way, baby! We did it! We did it! We did it!
Following a Packers Super Bowl win in the 1996 season, the NFC was on an unprecedented run in the big game. Between 1984 and 1996, the conference was home to the champions every single year, with a majority of those games resulting in dominant blowouts. The streak ended in 1997 when John Elway and the wild card Broncos beat the heavily favored Packers, and it took every yard to do so.
Almost offside, but the Packers got back on. Elway scrambling, looking, running, diving inside the 5-yard line for a first down. How bad does John Elway want to win this football game? When you see that quarterbacks go down, not Elway.
Denver went back-to-back in '98, and in 1999, we witnessed 2 of the greatest plays in postseason history.
Taken by Neal. He gives it to Wycheck. Wycheck, that looked like a forward pass. Taken by Dyson. Dyson down the sideline. Dyson's going to go all the way. And there is no play. What an incredible play. And Jeff Fisher knows he has pulled one out of the hat.
Tennessee would ride that momentum all the way to a Super Bowl showdown against the St. Louis Rams. This time, the epic play went the other way.
Probably the final play of the game. It is caught by Dyson. Can he get in? No, he cannot. Mike Jones.
Mike Jones became a household name overnight for his game-winning tackle. He's one of many otherwise forgotten players that ascended into legendary status for their postseason heroics.
Inside the 20, Timmy Smith going down the sideline. Timmy Smith is in there.
Who remembers Timmy Smith? He etched his name in NFL history for his 204-yard rushing performance in Super Bowl 22, a record that still stands. Despite this, Smith didn't even total 1,000 rushing yards over the span of his career.
Timmy Smith, you're talking about a one-game wonder. I don't think I've laid eyes on him since that day.
Manning takes the snap, back to throw, under pressure, avoids the rush, and he's gonna fight out of it. Still fights out of it, now throws it deep downfield, wide open Tyree, who makes the catch. What a catch by Tyree.
David Tyree was no more than a backup wideout for the span of his career, yet remains a New York legend all the same for his involvement in the helmet catch.
Clock still moving, down to 36. Russell is taking his time. Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. Malcolm Butler stepped in front of the throw. No way.
Malcolm Butler went from undrafted DB to Super Bowl hero after his timely interception in Super Bowl 49. The NFL playoffs changed the lives of those who rise to the occasion, while the entire world awaits the next unlikely star.
Are you kidding me? Hey, what a play!
Jump to the 2001 playoffs now.
Blitz. Lost the football. It's on the ground. Covered by the Raiders.
Charles Woodson came on a corner blitz and he rocked his former Michigan teammate.
The quarterback's arm was going forward. It is an incomplete pass. Set to go. Snap, ball down. Kick is up.
Patriots! Patriots win! Patriots win in overtime!
One of the great games ever played here in New England.
From pick 199 to the most decorated player in the sport, Tom Brady rewrote the record books over the span of his career. Most playoff wins, most Super Bowl wins, most playoff passing yards, touchdowns, game-winning drives, and none of it remotely close. In the process, he gave us some of the most memorable moments in modern playoff history.
Brady stands in the pocket, dumps it off to the left, complete to J.R. Redmond, 30, 35, to the 40, and a first down.
It happens so quick. I mean, by the time you spike that ball, you got 40 seconds, and you're thinking, this is for the world championship.
48-yard field goal attempt. Set to go, snap, ball down, kick up. Kick is on the way, and it is good!
It's good! It's good! Adam Vinatieri booms a 48-yard field goal, and the game is over, and the Patriots are Super Bowl champions! Don't ever count Tom Brady out. Best ever? Best ever in my book. They have completed the greatest comeback in Super Bowl history.
Brady play action. Looking. Third option. End zone. Caught! Gronkowski again!
Tom Brady, Super Bowl champion for the 7th time.
Brady won Super Bowls in 3 separate decades, but there were still plenty of moments worth mentioning in that span. In 2002, the newest conference realignment sparked a major change to the playoff format. With 4 divisions now in each conference, wildcard teams were cut down from 3 to 2. The 2 division winners with the worst records would host wildcard games, with seeding matchups remaining unchanged. 1 and 2 seeds get a first-round bye, 4 hosted 5, 3 hosted 6. In 2005, the Steelers became the first 6 seed to win it all.
Here comes a gadget play. Randall L. He can throw. He was a quarterback in college. And he's thrown a touchdown to Hines Ward in the Super Bowl.
Rewind 2 seasons.
You hear me, man? I'm about to destroy 41-27.
If we're talking all-time playoff tournaments, you're not going to find a better one than 2003. Some of the greatest moments in NFL history, all wrapped into a single month.
I like to call heads. Heads is called. We want the ball, we're going to score.
They're coming. The pass is picked up. Intercepted. Back the other way. The Green Bay Packers advance. DeLone fires to an open Smith. Steve Smith is going to go all the way. No flags down. Smith scores, and the Carolina Panthers win in overtime.
And throws deep for Wayne. Touchdown. Oh, my. The Colts with a remarkable offensive effort here in Kansas City. Not punting for 2 consecutive playoff games.
Now trying to stop a 4th and 26 and in essence take over. Plenty of time. Down the middle is Mitchell. Where will they spot him? They're going to get forward progress and a first down. Ty Law again. 3rd interception of the day for Ty Law. Play fake. DeLone pulls it down. Looking. Gonna go deep. Has his man wide open. It's Muhammad. Muhammad to the 15. 10-5 touchdown.
Snap. Ball down. Kick up. Kick is on the way. Kick is good. Kick is good.
The 2000s had no shortage of all-time classics. Look no further than the aforementioned upset in Super Bowl 42.
Lobs it. Burris alone. Touchdown, New York.
The New York Giants with the most improbable win in recent memory.
Just a year later, football fans were on the edge of their seats again. Behind Larry Fitzgerald's improbable playoff run, Arizona was minutes away from their first Lombardi. Not if Big Ben and Santonio Holmes had anything to say about it.
Gets the snap. He's back. He pumps. He scrambles around, throws it back corner of the end zone. Santonio with a touchdown! Santonio Holmes! I don't know how he did it!
In the 2009 wild card, the Packers and Cardinals faced off in the highest-scoring playoff game in NFL history. Kurt Warner and Aaron Rodgers combined for over 800 passing yards and 10 total touchdowns. In overtime, defense had the last laugh, though.
Extra man on the blitz. Rodgers gets a hand to the face. The ball is out. The Arizona Cardinals win it.
We have just witnessed NFL history, legend, and lore.
Overtime rules became a heavily debated topic over the next decade. In 2010, the NFL made a tweak to the conventional sudden death finish. Both teams could get a possession unless the first team with the ball scored a touchdown. The first overtime game with the new rules in place came in 2011, a wild card matchup between the Broncos and Steelers.
The Broncos have been in 3 overtime games this year. They won them all. Got him at the 40. It's Thomas at the 50. Stiffer got him free to the 30, to the 20. Thomas to the 10. Denver's going on to New England. They win it on the first play of overtime.
Guess the new rules didn't make much of a difference. The OT narrative would enter the national spotlight after a wild QB duel 10 years later. But first, more playoff expansion. In 2020, the league announced a 3rd wildcard team in addition to the 4 division winners. The opening round of the playoffs would be rebranded as Super Wildcard Weekend, 14 teams in the mix, becoming the largest permanent playoff field ever. The 2021 postseason is up there among the best ever. 9 of the 13 games in that postseason were decided by 1 score, including the aforementioned Mahomes-Allen showdown in the divisional round.
Down the middle to the end zone, and there it is! Touchdown number 4 on the night for Davis.
It'll take a miracle now for Kansas City, but it's not over yet.
Can't believe it. The defense got beaten up like that. To this point, here's Hill.
They're going to have a chance. They actually have a chance to get Bucker in field goal range here. Got to throw it right away, right now to someone in the middle.
Down the middle. Oh, my goodness. It's going to be a 48-yard attempt. Only 48 yards. That's what it'll be.
I'm so nervous.
So hundreds of thousands around the planet. The kick.
is good! It's going overtime!
We're going to play. We're going to play. We declare a winner.
Tails is this feels huge, right, with how good these offenses are?
Yes, City has won the toss.
Looking to the end zone for the win! He caught it! Ball game! Chiefs to the championship game!
After the 13-second game, the NFL changed overtime rules to make it so both teams could possess the ball, regardless if they score a touchdown. First overtime with the new rules, Super Bowl 58. The Chiefs took center stage again, this time to cement themselves as a dynasty.
First and goal. Mahomes flings it. It's there! Hardman! Jackpot! Kansas City!
That 2023 season, by the way, was the first time a playoff game was aired exclusively on a streaming network. Peacock subscribers watched Kansas City beat Miami in the wild card round. The evolution continued, with Amazon Prime signing a multi-year deal in 2024 to air wild card games. The game has continued to expand, and with it, so have the playoffs. Let's recap the all-time leaders in postseason history. It's TB12 at the top of the passing charts. Emmett narrowly edges Franco in rushing yards. Rice is just ahead of Kelsey in receiving. 9 is the magic number for interceptions. 4 DBs tied there. And most importantly, the ultimate winners, New England and Pittsburgh, are deadlocked at 6 Lombardi trophies apiece. In 2024, the Chiefs became the first team to reach the Super Bowl after winning the previous 2. 127.7 million Americans and over 60 million viewers internationally tuned into the most watched NFL game of all time. Not to mention more than 65,000 at the Superdome. A far cry from the 11,000 that saw the first championship game back in 1932. With the stage set, the Swifties proved no match for the Birds. KC became the 9th consecutive team to fall short of a three-peat.
3rd and 16, Mahomes rolling out. Looking, firing, intercepted! Picked up by Cooper DeJean, gets a block! DeJean is in! Touchdown!
Cooper DeJean, a pick 6 in the Super Bowl on your birthday.
Headed into the future, who knows which players, coaches, and teams elevate themselves into football immortality? An ever-expanding postseason bracket, streaming deals aplenty, and a growing demand internationally, the past 90 years of playoff football have taught us to embrace change. From an 80-yard field to Bad Bunny at halftime of Super Bowl 60, the show will always go on.